Episode 2. Skills enhanced and experience gained. Aiden pretended to ignore her note and called out in his mind, "System." He remembered that in his novels, the systems could communicate with people and function like an interface from a video game. However, there was no response from the system at all. It seemed to be a closed system that did not like communicating with its host. Thus, Aiden had no choice but to experiment with other possible functions of the system. With that, he pulled a math textbook from the drawer below his table. When the surrounding students saw this, they stared at him, stupefied. A genius really was different from a normal student. To think that he was actually reading a math book during French class.
Ding! Analyzing high school math textbook. Math ability +1. Current progress 1 out of 10. Current level, beginner.
Aiden took out textbooks from other subjects one after another. Every time he flipped through the books, there would be a system notification. In a short session, his abilities in various subjects had been upgraded to master level, just like his French ability. With this in mind, he was now confident that as long as he was given one night, he would be able to learn every subject taught in the entire first year of high school. The corner of Aiden's mouth curled up slightly. He was excited for the potential of his new abilities. With this system, his life would definitely not be ordinary. All this time, Viola was watching him. She was not listening to the lecture at all. However, Aiden still ignored her, making her feel frustrated. At one point, she even checked her face in her compact mirror and began to doubt her own charm. Once school was over that afternoon, Aiden packed all his textbooks into his backpack to carry home, even for classes without any homework. As he squeezed the last book into the bulging bag, he realized Viola was staring at him and seemed prepared to follow him. Standing straight up with her head lowered slightly, her teeth bit into her lower lips as her hand tugged at the hem of her shirt. Aiden was 5'9" tall, while Viola wasn't quite 5'4" in her chunky shoes. From Aiden's height, he could see the back of Viola's snow-white neck. It was sweet. Aiden's heart skipped a beat, but his expression remained cold. "Hey, Viola, did you want something? If not, I've got to go." Viola raised her head and looked at Aiden with big, watery eyes. "I was just thinking that we'd take the same path home. Would you like to walk together? I was hoping to ask you a few questions on the way." Aiden sighed. When he had asked her to walk with him a few days earlier, all he got was a withering stare. But now, Viola was the one asking. Oh, how the tables have turned. Though tempted, Aiden did not reject Viola, but nodded slightly instead. Viola clapped her hands excitedly, then picked up her backpack and walked alongside Aiden. At the entrance of Otis High, Miss Kane was standing by the gate, waiting for her daughter, Viola, to walk home with her. Seeing Viola's figure in the distance, Miss Kane immediately waved her hand. However, when she saw a male student beside Viola, her expression sank immediately. The one thing she feared most was Viola falling in love with someone. After all, she worried it would end up affecting Viola's studies. As the two figures got closer, Miss Kane's face twitched as she recognized the boy to be Aiden. It was clear that she had not yet recovered from the class that morning. "Mom, I will be walking home with Aiden," Viola said as they reached her. "I happen to have a few questions to ask him anyway." She let out a giggle while Aiden stood to the side and smiled without saying a word. Miss Kane responded, "So that's how it is. If you're together with Aiden, then I'll be much more relieved. Just remember to come home early." "Don't worry, Mom," Viola said as they passed through the gate. As she watched the two disappear down the sidewalk, Miss Kane suddenly realized something. Couldn't she still ask him her questions if the three of us walked home together? She then shook her head with a bitter smile. This girl had been complaining at home yesterday about Aiden, but look at her now. It seemed that she could no longer hold her daughter back. Along the way, Viola kept asking Aiden to tell her how he suddenly became so smart. However, Aiden kept changing the subject and never answered her directly. Rather than angering Viola, it just made Aiden seem even more mysterious in her mind. "Aiden Dale. Can I just call you Aiden?" If I keep calling you by your full name, it'll seem as if we're distant, although we're table partners. Of course, then I'll also call you Viola in the future. Viola, a flower blossoming in the snow. Your name really matches your temperament, he said. Hearing such explicit words, Viola's face flushed scarlet red from embarrassment. She then said, how can I have any sort of temperament?
Love is in the air. Flirting skills +1. Current progress 1 out of 10. Current level beginner.
Damn, this skill can also be enhanced? He thought. This system really is amazing. Although Viola wanted to stay with Aiden for a while longer, the two of them had already arrived at her house. Thus, there was no reason nor excuse for her to continue pestering Aiden. The moment of bidding farewell to Aiden caused Viola to feel rather disappointed. When she thought of meeting Aiden again the next day, however, a smile appeared on her face. On a street in the east side of Bayside District, there was a small, inconspicuous snack bar called Midnight Snack Corner. The door of the diner was not very big or grand, and the decorations seemed to have aged along with the place. Although it was already dinner time, there weren't many customers in the restaurant. Aiden walked up to the Midnight Snack Corner and shouted in his mind, I possess the power of the system now. From today onwards, no one can yell at me anymore. Stinking brat, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and get over here to help. A high-pitched voice suddenly resounded past Aiden's ears. Losing his previous bravado, Aiden walked into the store with his head lowered and said with an aloof tone, Mom, there are so few customers today. Why would you need my help? That's right, Aiden worked at the Midnight Snack Corner. This small restaurant had been passed down from Aiden's grandfather and was currently managed by his parents. However, the two of them clearly did not have many talents in business, as their management of the diner only got worse with each passing day. In order to get Aiden into the prestigious Otis High School, the couple gritted their teeth and spent most of their life savings on his education. Aiden silently swore to himself, I didn't have this ability in the past, but now that I have this system in my hands, I must help my family turn their situation around. No matter how few customers there are, you have to keep learning how to manage the store. One day, this shop will be yours, so don't be so useless like your father, came a voice from the kitchen. A middle-aged woman wearing a scarf came out carrying a bowl of soup to a guest and continued talking to Aiden. This woman's figure was slightly chubby, but her face was still well maintained. Her skin was fair and flawless, unlike the appearance of a mother who had a 16-year-old boy. This was Aiden's mother, Clara Dale. At this moment, a grumbling voice came from the kitchen. What do you mean, useless? If you were to try your best, I would have had the time to lose weight a long time ago, Clara retorted without a trace of politeness. Aiden shook his head in irritation, as it is a daily occurrence. No matter how long or how much they argued with one another, it was always the same. With that, Aiden dropped his school bag and slipped into the kitchen, where a sturdy middle-aged man wearing a chef's hat was currently immersed in the process of making dough for noodles. From his facial features, Aiden's appearance could be vaguely seen. This middle-aged man was naturally Aiden's father, Morris Dale, or Elder Morris, as most people in the neighborhood called him. Morris did not even turn around as he directed Aiden to chop the roasted chicken cooking on the counter. He then instructed, practice your proficiency with the knife. Over the years, his parents had gradually developed Aiden's culinary skills and knowledge for business, thinking he was not someone suited for studying. Aiden curled his lips and thought for a moment, but still could not muster up the courage to tell them what had happened today. After all, it wasn't the most believable story. He'd have to wait until the exam results were out so that he could use his report card to show his parents the changes in him. Only then would they even consider believing in him. He quickly washed his hands and went to prepare the chicken. However, the moment Aiden reached for a carving knife, the system's voice rang out in his head.
Detecting culinary skills. Cooking ability +1. Current progress 1 out of 10. Current level beginner.
Just as Aiden's eyes lit up in excitement, his knife working slowly became more quick and precise.
Cooking ability +1, +1, +1. Current progress 11 out of 100. Cooking ability increased to proficient level.
That feeling resurfaced yet again. The feeling of knowledge surging through his mind. After spending some time figuring things out, Aiden was beginning to understand the system's division between levels. If the experience points range between 1 and 10, the host would be placed in the beginner level. On the other hand, if the experience points range from 11 to some specific number, then you'll break through the proficient level. However, he still did not know what came after the proficient level or when the next level up might happen. After obtaining proficient level for his cooking ability, Aiden noticed that carving and cutting the chicken had become much easier. The crisp sound of the knife hitting the wooden board resounded through the kitchen in a consistent yet swift manner. Even Morris, who had his head lowered and was making noodles, noticed the sound. When did this brat learn to cut so fast? Morris turned his head and could not help but gape in surprise.